Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the scenes in a language class? Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain. We're talking about the fundamental building blocks of language teaching, the approach, the method, and the technique. You're about to see how it all fits together. Let's jump in. So think about any language class you've ever taken. Was it all about, drilling grammar rules, repeating sentences over and over? Or was it more like, okay, everybody, let's pretend we're ordering coffee in Paris? Those are two totally different experiences, right? And there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, that huge difference isn't just about the teacher's personality or what mood they're in. There's actually a kind of hidden blueprint at work, something that shapes basically everything that happens in the classroom. And today, we're going to hand you the key to understanding that blueprint.
So what is behind these different teaching styles? It really all comes down to something called the method. You can think of a method as a kind of pre-packaged game plan for the classroom, and it's designed to create a very specific kind of learning experience. That phrase right there, pre-packaged set of specifications, is absolutely key. A method isn't just a handful of good ideas. No, it's a complete system. It tells the teacher what to do, it tells the student what to do. It's basically the instruction manual for the entire course. But where do these methods even come from? They don't just appear out of thin air. Every single method is born from a much deeper set of beliefs, a core philosophy, and that's what we call the approach. This is the big why that drives every single decision. So an approach really just boils down to your most basic beliefs. What do you think language is, and how do you think people learn it? Here's an analogy. If you're building a house, your approach is your architectural philosophy. Are you a modernist who loves clean lines, or a traditionalist who loves cozy details? That core belief shapes everything else. And every approach really stands on two pillars: a theory about what language is, and a theory about how our brains actually learn it. So let's see what that looks like in the real world. This is where you see a major fork in the road. On one hand, the structural view sees language like an engine. It's a system of parts, like grammar and vocabulary, that you have to assemble correctly. The functional view, on the other hand, sees language as a tool, a way to get things done. So a structural class might obsess over getting verb tenses perfect, while a functional class would be thrilled that you successfully ordered that coffee, even if you made a few mistakes along the way. And then you've got the other piece of the puzzle. How do we learn? Do you believe it's all about repetition, just forming habits over and over? Or do you think we're more like little detectives, piecing together the rules of the language as we go? Your answer to that question completely changes how you'd set up a class. Okay, so if the approach is that big, abstract why, then the method is the practical how. It's the bridge that connects those big philosophical ideas to what actually happens in a real classroom with real students. A method is that real-world plan that brings your whole approach to life. Let's go back to our house analogy. If your approach is minimalist architecture, your method is the actual detailed blueprint for one specific minimalist house. It shows the layout, the materials, everything. And a method leaves absolutely nothing to chance. It maps out the entire syllabus, what you learn and in what order. It dictates the exact types of activities you'll do. It even defines the role of the teacher and how you're supposed to use your textbook. It's the whole shebang. So we've got these different layers, right? Big ideas, practical plans. But how do they all connect? Well, luckily for us, there's a super simple and really elegant framework that puts all these pieces in the right order. And to understand it, we've got to go back to 1963. A linguist named Edward Anthony came up with this brilliant 3-level hierarchy, and it's pretty much become the foundation for how we've thought about language teaching ever since. And here it is. It's so simple. At the very top, you have the approach. That's your why. Your why then informs your method. That's your how. And finally, down at the ground level, you have the technique. That's the what, the stuff you actually do. Let's look a little closer at that last piece. A technique is any specific thing you do in the classroom. A grammar drill, a game, a role play, that's a technique, but it's never random. Each technique has to fit the method, which in turn has to fit the approach. It's like laying a single brick. That one action has to follow the architect's blueprint. It might be the smallest step, but it's guided by the entire philosophy. Now, of course, the story doesn't just stop in 1963. Anthony's big idea kicked off a huge conversation that's been going on for decades, with other experts coming along to tweak and build on his original framework. So let's fast forward to 1982. Two other well-known linguists, Jack Richards and Theodore Rogers, took another look at Anthony's model. They didn't get rid of it. Instead, they kind of expanded it, adding a bit more detail and updating some of the words they used. You can see how it evolved right here. The top-level approach stays exactly the same. But what Anthony called method, they called design, and what he called technique, they called procedure. It's really the same core idea of a three-tiered system, just with a fresh coat of paint. So please, don't get lost in the different terms. The fundamental logic here is exactly the same, and it's timeless. Big ideas guide the plans, and those plans determine the actions you take in the classroom. Simple as that. When you boil it all down, it comes to this. Approach is your why. Method is your how. And technique is your what. And now, you basically have the secret decoder ring for any language class you ever walk into. So, now that you've got the blueprint, the real question isn't what's the best method out there. The question is, what's the best method for you? Whether you're a teacher trying to design a class or a student trying to pick one, it all starts with understanding your own beliefs. So, what's your why? That's the question to think about.